All right, welcome back. It is Free Therapy Wednesday, and today we are tackling a tough topic that I know is hard to talk about with your teen, but it's so necessary because it really is at a crisis level, and we're talking about vaping.
And joining us with some expert advice is our friend, Dr. Laura Saunders. Hi, Dr. Saunders.
Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday, although it's a little confusing because I'm seeing you, Nicole, but this is quite a dream team this morning, so I'm happy to be here talking about youth and vaping.
The Hall of Famer is resting today.
Yes, for the rest of the week, actually.
He's going to go home and look at his award. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, I want to say, if people are going, well, why is a child psychologist talking about vaping? Because this is one intersection where the physical effects of vaping really affect kids' mental health. And if you think your kids aren't around it, you're probably wrong, because unfortunately, it's everywhere with teens right now.
Yes, and really, I mean, nicotine, e-cigarettes, right? I mean, we have done a really good job educating youth about cigarettes, right?
Right.
But now vaping and electronics, e-cigarettes are electronic cigarettes, right? It has a little igniter. And what people don't realize, what young people don't realize, is how really dangerous they are. They're touted as being safer because they have flavors, but nicotine affects attention, mood, and learning. And I've always said throughout my career that the belief used to be that marijuana was the gateway to harder substances. I absolutely don't see that in my clinical practice. What I see is that nicotine is the gateway, because that's the first experience that young people have of an outside substance that alters their mood. And mood and behavior is absolutely under the purview of psychologists.
Wow, that's pretty big what you just said there. You know, and I think in educating the parents, you know, and even schools and everything, making sure that they are aware of how you believe that that's the gateway drug, because, you know, I think we're so antiquated sometimes in how we view certain things. But if we're not opening up the conversation about these hard things, you know, at home, at school, I mean, things can fall by the wayside and slip through the cracks, and our teens can be at risk.
And it's not detectable, right? So that's the thing. When kids were smoking back in our day, your parents could find it, smell it, it reeked. Now you say 6 Connecticut school districts are using vape detecting technology to crack down on it, because, I mean, unfortunately, kids can do this in the bathrooms. They can really do it undetected.
Yep.
Right. And look, when we were in high school, we all knew which bathrooms were the smoking bathrooms and which bathrooms were not the smoking bathrooms. But now with vaping, it's so much harder to detect this. So yes, there's new technology out there. Connecticut schools are adopting this because it's equally as dangerous, and it's really hard to address. It's the same kind of issues around social pressure and marketing that affected smoking for young people in you know, a generation or two before us. But vaping is really dangerous. It has effects on their lungs besides their brain.
So, Doc, what can parents do? What would you recommend as a way to open up the conversation, you know, to check and see if your child is around this, if they're doing this? Where do you start?
Best way to start is actually with just a lot of open communication, right? If you're smokers yourselves, you're going to have a harder time telling your kids not to be smokers, not to be vaping, and not to be smokers. So it is first looking at your own behavior. And secondly, in that open communication, I always like to ask about friends first, right? Do any of your friends vape? Is that a big thing in your friend group or in your school? So you get better information instead of asking directly about them, about asking their friends. And then that's the gateway into, have you ever tried it? Because there's some really serious statistics out there about, you know, over 28% of Connecticut high school students have reported using electronic vape products. 28%.
That's a lot.
So that's really high. That doesn't mean they're regular users, but they've at least tried it. So we know it's out there, we know it's happening, and you have to create that dialogue with your teens.
We're going to get into a deeper dive of how this can affect your mood and behavior, and also how the kids are also vaping cannabis and THC on the Care is Curious podcast. It'll be a good education for you to listen to, and then hopefully maybe play it with your kids in the car ride. I like to make my podcasts about the length of a car ride. So tune into the Care is Curious podcast. That should be available now as well. Thanks so much, Dr. Saunders.
Have a great day.